morning, everyone, and welcome to the Spring Football Show. This week we are covering the XFL playoffs, the first week of the XFL playoffs, and week 3 of the USFL. So we're going to get it all covered for you. We're going to do USFL first because that locks at 12:30, and then the first XFL playoff game is at, I believe, 7 o'clock tonight. So we'll do USFL first and then XFL playoffs this time. It's a little switch up. I'm, of course, joined by my guys, Bobby and Bruce, again. So I'm going to go over them, see how they're doing on this wonderful Saturday morning, and then we will get right into the slate. If you're coming in, or as you're coming in, please be sure to hit that like button. We, of course, really do appreciate it. Bobby, I'll go to you first. I get on Twitter last night. I see another showdown shipper. Love to see it in the NBA streets. So tell me how you're doing there and tell me how you're feeling about this spring football slate today.
Yeah, NBA was good again last night. Main slate did not go well, fading Keegan Murray. So the night started off pretty poorly, but ended up with a very nice night after tripping the showdown slate. So yeah, another nice night in the NBA streets. A little less going on, I feel like, today, this Saturday, compared to some of the previous Saturdays. Right. But we got XFL playoffs. We got, I think I like about the USFL this week is we've got at least a little bit more of a, sample of like what teams are going to do, tendencies, and kind of some of that stuff. So it's definitely nice as we get a little bit later into the season, having a little bit of data and stuff to go off of. So hoping for a nice another nice weekend for us.
Absolutely. And these two are keeping track of all that. I mean, Bruce is watching the games twice for us. He's putting all the data in, in Discord for us and helping us out. And of course, Bobby's doing the XFL playbooks. Bruce is doing the USFL playbooks. You'll see our cores. So if you have access to all of Run Pure subscription benefits, you get a lot that helps you out during the spring football, which is really based on the news and really based on kind of getting your eyes on these games. If you're not a Run Pure subscriber yet, of course, use one of our codes. You can use Bobby15, Bruce15, Meg15, whatever you'd like, 15% off. But you do get access to these guys' great playbooks, cores, Discord, very key things that you will need. Bruce, I'm going to go over to you. I have to ask you about the NFL draft because you are our college football GOAT. And I know I personally, college football is definitely under the category of I only cash or win if I use RPS cores. It's just not one of my sports that I am paying attention to daily or weekly. So I've definitely used your cores and cash. So as one of the college football GOATs, any surprises that you thought from the NFL draft so far?
No, I thought it was pretty good first couple days.
Yeah,
I'm still waiting for a couple guys that I really liked. Thought they'd be gone by now, like Deuce Vaughn. One of my favorite guys to watch. I think he's perfect for today's NFL, and a little bit smaller guy, but he's going to be a lot of fun, I think. But yeah, other than a couple surprises, I've enjoyed watching it a little bit.
Any perfect landing spots that you thought of as like, having the eyes on college football so much, any like perfect landing spots? I'm going to take this into my best ball streets here soon.
Yeah. Me and my buddies made fun of Levis to Tennessee. I thought that was a funny spot for him to go. But I thought there was a couple of good ones. Schoonmaker to Dallas was really good, I thought.
Okay.
That's a good tight end pickup. Also Kincaid to Buffalo. I think.
I
think that was really good.
We have a double DK tight end that could crush this year for sure.
Yeah. And then one people made fun of a lot was Gibbs to Detroit just because of how early he went, but
I love it.
He's such a good player. He's so versatile, especially if they get rid of one of those running backs they have already.
If they get rid of Swift, I think that clears the path for him.
Why'd they pay David Montgomery?
That's the question.
I hate what they did.
Yeah. I hate where they got him. Just because you're gonna have to pay for it, pay the premium for the spot, but. He's such a good player. Their draft is really solid if you look at it. Even though they made some mistakes early on, it's still a really good draft. I love Philly's draft. I think Philly probably.
Unfortunately, yes, it has been very good. Yes, it's very unfortunate.
Scary defense now. But yeah, Houston also, their first round is really good. So.
Yeah, I like that they moved up to get their got their quarterback and then moved up and got Anderson. So
yes,
Bobby,
You're
I
not going to
think
mention my Vikings getting Jordan Addison?
I was
Oh,
just
yeah.
gonna say,
Oh,
I
yeah.
was just about to say that, Bobby. I love Jordan Addison, and I think him and Justin Jefferson, you've got to be thrilled as a Vikings fan. Are you so pumped?
I'm very excited. I mean, I feel like too, there's been at least like a couple comps to Addison and Stephon Diggs since they both came from the Maryland area too. So the idea of having second coming of Stephon Diggs with Justin Jefferson,
yeah,
plus Hawkinson now too. I mean, I don't think we're gonna stop anyone, but should be fun to watch. Vikings game should be track meets. So I don't know, it's fun, and we love that for DFS.
Target Vikings games for shootouts. We're deciding in April, so I like it. No, I thought that was a great landing spot, and was excited for you for Addison for sure. All right, I understand this is a spring football show. We couldn't help talk of a little NFL with the NFL draft, and again with Bruce knowing so much about these college players, so I had to ask. But okay, we're going to move over and talk again the USFL slate first. Again, if you're coming in, please be sure to like this episode. If you see me holding my mic weird, it broke 1 minute before the show. So hopefully I'll do my best little reporter job here to hold the mic okay. But anyways, we are going to talk USFL first. And the first game we have at 12:30 is New Orleans at Birmingham. So Bruce, I'm going to go to you since you do the USFL playbooks. Kind of break this game down for us. What have you been seeing the first 2 weeks, and who are you targeting in this game?
Yeah, this is a really good matchup. I think Birmingham's probably been top two. They won the championship last year, and they looked really good, especially with Magoo in at quarterback. New Orleans has had issues stopping anybody on defense as well. So I think a lot of these Birmingham players are in play. Birmingham's kind of a balanced offense. They like to run as much as they love to pass. So, I have a lot of interest in the Birmingham running backs today. CJ Marable, Zaquandre White. Both those guys look good last week against Memphis. Memphis is terrible, but they looked really, really good, especially White with Bo Scarborough probably out for the year. It looks like he's going to get some more run there. Mm-hmm. On the New Orleans side, when you look at running back, Wes Hills played most of the game last week. Running back was so tilting for me with all of these backup guys getting in the game. So, but I thought Wes Hills looked really good. When he came in, he scored a couple touchdowns, had over 100 yards rushing. This Birmingham defense is good, but I think they should be able to move the football a little bit, on them. Look at wide receiver. If I look at Birmingham, like I said, they kind of spread the ball out a little bit. They have like 6 or 7 receivers they like to get the ball to. I do like Myron Mitchell and Davion Davis if you're going to play them. They're both cheap, so it's not taking a huge risk. So I love that value there. New Orleans is kind of the total opposite. They have very thin receiving core. So like Johnny Dixon, 9,400, especially if they're trailing in this game, he can put up some numbers. And, I do think Birmingham can put pressure on the quarterback. So, it's a little scary. New Orleans hasn't blocked anybody this year. So it is a little scary for Bethel Thompson back there today. But he should be trailing maybe by a couple touchdowns, I think, early on. I do like New Orleans to be throwing the football. Our guy, Sage Surratt, came through again last week, and, he's still 7,100. He's not too crazy expensive this week. The 2 best tight ends in this league are in this game, Jay Sternberger as well. Also went off. If you have both of those guys in a lineup, you smashed last week. They also, Birmingham also is getting LaMichael Petway back. He played for them last year and was probably their top receiver, if I remember correctly. With Moss out this week, Moss caught that 1 touchdown. I don't know if he got hurt, but he's out this week. So Petway is a nice little tournament option if you need like a punt for 2,500.
All right. I was reading the playbook as I was listening to you, trying to just cram here. I'll go over to you, Bobby. Kind of going off what Bruce said, what have you seen so far these first 2 weeks out of these two teams, and who do you really like in this game?
Yeah, I've been super high on New Orleans most weeks, but
Yeah,
some of what
me
Bruce
too.
has mentioned about the offensive line is a little bit scary, but nonetheless, we're looking to continue to go to our guy Surratt on the New Orleans side of things. Typically tight ends are going to have a super high ADOT, so should still be quite a few targets for him this week. So yeah, I definitely like going back there. Know that Bruce mentioned Wes Hill's at only 6,500 at running back. A lot of the starting running backs in this league are priced more in that high 8K, low 9K range. So I imagine that he'll be fairly popular this week after having a monster week last week. So mainly the tight ends and this one both look good to me. And then Magoo has obviously been really good so far this year, and he's definitely someone that I want to consider this week. So yeah, I definitely like pieces from this game. And I think my main guy that I want to get to is Wes Hill, though.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind really loading up on the Birmingham side at all after reading everything and hearing what you guys are saying. So I think that is definitely a way to go here. Now let's talk about the 7:00 game. We've got Memphis at Houston. Bruce, I'll go back to you first. Again, in what you've seen so far, who are you targeting in this game, or who do you like in this game?
Yeah, this is one of my favorite games on the slate. Surprisingly,
Okay.
I kind of like Houston to roll here. Memphis looked so bad. I just think that Todd Haley's a terrible coach.
Yeah, that was rough last week.
42-2, I think it was. Yeah, 42-2.
That was brutal.
Yeah, so I know it's Birmingham, but it shouldn't, in this league, you shouldn't get destroyed like that.
Right.
It's a terrible team. Houston has been getting better every week. First week they looked kind of off. Last week they lost against New Orleans, but they looked a lot better. They scored 31 points. I like the way Bahar looked, and the matchup is good. He's only 8,300 this week, and team totals close to 24. So I just think I think he's a great play this week. He's in my core currently, so. Yeah, I love that price. The Houston running back situation got a little crowded with Mark Thompson coming back, but I think they really love TJ Pledger. He is 8,500, so it is you would be paying up a little bit, but I still think he's a good play this week. You can take a chance on Mark Thompson. He was their leading rusher last year, so he could score a time or two. Alex Collins. I don't think he did too well last week, seeing that they only scored 2 points, but he is still targeted in the passing game quite a bit. And the matchup is really soft. Houston's defense is really bad. So he is going to come in ownership wise about 25%. So, you can take a shot on him, just seeing how bad Houston's defense has been. They got torched by New Orleans last week, and then Michigan week 1, I think. Yeah, Michigan week 1, but they scored 29 points on them week 1. So Houston's defense is definitely attackable here. The receivers last week, Justin Hall had a big week. I think he was 3K, so scored 2 touchdowns, had over 100 yards receiving. And I think you can go back to him again. He's a playmaker. So he's such a good receiver. Ratliff Williams is also solid, 7,300. I think Isaiah Zuber could be back. He was their leading receiver last year. He's only 3K. Need to add him into the playbook. I just saw that he's possibly in today.
Okay.
So he'd be a good value play, of course. It's always good to get your leading receiver back in week 3. I think they signed him after he got cut by somebody. So I think he's a good play. Memphis has a quarterback problem. I don't know. They have Brady White playing last week. Didn't play every snap. I know Willis came in for him. Cole Kelly is active this week, and Willis is on injured reserve or something. So, yeah, I find it tough to play one of those quarterbacks. Even though Memphis should score some points, I'd rather play Collins or just some of these receivers. Derek Dillon is back after missing last week. He hurt us week 1 as chalk. I think he got hurt first quarter, second quarter. They did throw the ball quite a bit last week after being behind. Vinny Papale was the leading guy. So yeah, it's tough. They have quite a few receiving options. They run in and out of there. I'd prefer Papale or Dillon if you're going to play one. Yeah, that's pretty much it for me in that game.
All right, Bobby, over to you here for the second game. Any interest in any stacks, any running backs? Who are you really looking at in this game?
Yeah, actually, I had a question for you, Bruce. I feel like Kenji hasn't been running as much as we might have thought. Do you have any insider ideas as to why he hasn't been running as much in the USFL?
I think he hurt his foot week 1, possibly. I know he's been on the injury report. So yeah, I think he might be a little banged up, but hasn't affected his passing too much. I think they brought in like Terry Wilson a little bit week 1, let him run around a little bit, but I think he's just been a little banged up.
I gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I think I'm in line with Bruce. Want to play quite a bit of this game. I mean, especially I like the idea of playing multiple guys on the Houston side of things and potentially stacking or double stacking, maybe even Kenji just with some of those price tags. I mean, we know that we'll get to this game next, but the volume for some of those guys on the Philly side of things is pretty big in Coleman and Gray. So if we want to be able to spend up at running back and spend up on some of those high volume receivers, I think it makes a lot of sense to take the salary savings with Kenji in a good matchup. And also if you're just thinking that eventually he's going to probably be a little bit healthier and use those legs a little bit more, has the potential. So I think there's a lot of upside there. Plus with the salary savings, so it's likely the route that I'm going to go with my core today is playing Kenji and trying to spend up at some of these high volume spots at the running back and the wide receiver spot. And like Bruce mentioned, some of the guys that are cheaper at the wide receiver position look good here. I mean, Collins was a little disappointing last week, but I think this is a good bounce back spot for him. And, he's a guy that, actually played a decent amount in the NFL, played quite a bit for Seattle. So, I mean, just talent wise too, in a league like this, I know we like to target those people that have been successful in the NFL and these spring leagues that typically can rise to the top a little bit. So, a ton of interest in this game and the pass game and the run game. I think there's some nice ways to save salary to load up on some other players on the slate.
Okay, I like it. Well, that covers the 2 Saturday games for the USFL. Lot to like there, it sounds like. We're going to head over to the Sunday games. And then, of course, then we will still be talking about the XFL playoffs after. If you're just coming in, be sure to hit that like button. And we will now jump over to Sunday games here for the USFL. First, we've got Pittsburgh at Philadelphia at noon tomorrow. So Bruce, again, going to you first. I know, we've been targeting Philly and Coleman was good to us, I believe, last week. So, are we going back there, and who else do you like in this game?
Yeah, I think Pittsburgh's looked good on defense this year, but they have been attackable through the air. I know New Orleans threw for 300 yards against them, and New Jersey, it doesn't really pass the ball a ton, and they looked okay last week. So I don't mind going back to Cookus, but he is 11K, so that's rough. And he's kind of looked banged up. Their offensive line has been pretty bad so far this year. So it's not my favorite play, but he's probably going to be lower owned than weeks past. I have him about 27%, which last year he was always 40% or so. So I don't hate going back to him. On the Pittsburgh side, I just can't play any of these quarterbacks. The receivers are really tough to play as well, just because the quarterback situation is so bad. Even though Philadelphia's defense is, just not very good. So it's tough to play those guys. Colburn got most of the snaps last week at running back for Philly. I think he's a solid play in the passing game. Someone you can definitely play. Dexter Williams is decent as a tournament play. Like I said, Pittsburgh receivers are terrible. The only one I kind of lean towards playing is Henne. It's 5,200. Got a lot of targets last week. I think 10 or so. But yeah, the rest are too overpriced. Walker's 8K, Gaither's 8,300. So yeah, mostly staying away from those guys. Gray and Coleman for Philly, always in play. Those are the guys going to get the targets, just because they're playing in the slot, and teams are getting pressure on Cookus, so he's trying to get the ball out quickly. If Roland's back, 3,600 is too cheap for him. That's pretty much it. Don't see any tight ends I want to play in that game either. So, I like the if you're going to play sneaky defense, the Philly defense is going to be lower owned, and this Pittsburgh offense is terrible. So,
they've been brutal to watch.
Yes.
Absolutely. Okay, Bobby, let's go over to you for this first game tomorrow. Kind of after hearing what Bruce said, who do you like in this game?
Yeah, I don't have anything crazy new to add. I mean, like some of the Philly pieces, especially the wide receivers and the volume that they're getting. There's a couple cheap pieces that look okay on the Pittsburgh side of things. Philly defense definitely saves you a little bit on salary if you don't want to end up spending all the way up on Michigan or Birmingham. A couple of the more expensive defenses this week. I guess Birmingham's only $100 more, but if you don't want to spend all the way up on defense and want to target one of the worst offenses, if not the worst offense in the league, I think that makes a ton of sense. So I mainly want to target the Philly pass catchers. I'm likely going to save money at quarterback instead of spending all the way up there, and mainly go to those guys.
Before we go to the fourth game, I have a new respect for JSU. I'm trying to update my course with one hand and listen to you guys. How JSU does it on every NBA Up to Lock show is beyond impressive, and then just shipping contests left and right too. So big appreciation for JSU trying to do this. And as I was doing this, I think I accidentally deleted one of yours, Bruce. You had Surratt in your core, right?
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure, just putting everything back where it was as I'm fumbling around here. So
I've done it before also. So
okay, good. Thank you for making me feel better. I'm in shambles over here, but it's okay. I'm going to pull myself together, I swear. Getting my core up right now as I'm listening to these guys, and again, cramming the playbook, listening to these guys. I'm getting my core up, my lineup finalized. But we have one more game to get to. We have the late game tomorrow, New Jersey at Michigan. So late game hammer here, Bruce. Who do you like in this one?
Yeah, I think this might be the worst game of the week for DFS, just because it's just terrible. There's just a lot going on. Sorry, my dogs are going nuts this morning. My wife's even home today, and they're just out of control. When I look at these offenses, they're decent, but the Michigan defense has been the best defense in this league so far, and New Jersey on offense is they want to slow it down, run the ball a ton. So I just don't like this game as much. Compared to the other three that are going on. I don't hate taking a chance on Reggie Corbin. Just one of the most explosive guys in this league, and I can see him having a big game. Last week they caught him on the phone, calling up to the press box, asking for the football, telling him to feed him the ball. So
And it worked. He had what, 32?
Yeah.
I just looked, 32 DK points last week. He was a
Yeah.
hero for us. Yeah.
He went nuts. So, yeah, I love to see that kind of stuff, especially in leagues like this, when they want to showcase their skills. And he was like that last year too. So, he's shown it over a large sample. I don't hate playing a guy like Josh Love. He's more of like a game manager, but if things fall right for him, he had 3 touchdown passes week 1 against Houston. So, if things fall right for him, he can put up a big score. If possibly these other quarterbacks fail. Now, receiver wise, it's tough to play these New Jersey guys just because they want to run the football, and they haven't looked great, to be honest. Jamon Moore looked good last week, but I think he got banged up late and came out of the game. I have to check his injury status. I didn't see anything yet, but yeah, if he's in at 3K, I don't hate that. He was big in this league last year too, I believe. On the Michigan side, the receiving is kind of thin, so I don't mind any of these guys. Joe Walker could have had a big week last week, but I think he had 5 drop passes, like easy ones too, like just right in his hands. Trey Quinn looked good, and he's still only 3,300. If for some reason Michigan falls behind, they'll have to throw it a lot more. I like his game, and he's cheap. It's just a nice punt. That's pretty much it. Braden Bowman, New Jersey, is a solid tight end. I think he's had 4 or 5 targets the first 2 weeks too. So I think he's good. Cole Hicatini for Michigan had a touchdown last week, 3,100. Kind of the receiving tight end, and he's looked really solid. Kind of a receiver in a tight end body. So I like him if you want a good tournament play.
Okay, I like it. All right, so the Sunday afternoon hammer here, Bobby. Who are, if anybody, are you targeting?
For me, I like going to the Michigan defense in this one if I get up there for salary.
Mm-hmm.
So like them, Reggie Corbin was a hero to help me min cash last week at really low ownership. So
yeah,
I got to at least have a little bit of interest going back to him. And then, I'm definitely much more interested in the games today than I am on the Sunday games. The Sunday games, like I mentioned, mainly interested in getting the volume on the Philly side of things and more so loading up on the pieces for the Saturday games. But Trey Quinn is a value option. If you need 3.3K for a wide receiver, former Washington Commander / Redskins / Washington football team.
Identity crisis. Yeah.
I forget how many eras he was in Washington.
A new name actually after the new owners too. So.
I think the football team was better than the Commanders.
Commanders is brutal.
But that's a whole separate side tangent.
Yeah. I could do a whole segment.
But the only other guy that I've got a little bit of interest in is Eccles Looper on the New Jersey side of things. Has had solid volume. Almost landed on as the last guy in last week, and I think he scored 2 and put about 15, 16 DK points. So volume should be okay for him. And outside of that, again, not a ton of interest in this game. Going to be definitely more heavy on the games today.
Right. But to speak to that point, there is a Sunday slate. So I think we're all, have a lot of interest in games today, but there's a Sunday slate. And I do believe a Run Pure subscriber shipped the Sunday slate last week, winning $2,000. So congratulations to them. That is awesome. I know we've all been pretty profitable in USFL. So hopefully we keep it up. If you're just joining us, be sure to hit that like button before we get to these guys' plays of the USFL slate. And then, if you're watching later, you can, because the XFL playoffs slate does not lock until 7:00. So if you're coming in later, still hit that like button, and we will get to the XFL playoffs here in a minute. But before we do, let me get these guys' plays of the slate. Bruce, I'll go to you first. Who's your play of the USFL slate this week?
I'm going to go to Justin Hall, Houston wide receiver. He had a big week last week, and I loved him at Ball State. One of my favorite college players. So I love his playmaking ability, and I think he has a big game against Memphis.
All right. Bobby, who is your USFL play of the slate?
Yeah, give me Kenji. I want to spend down at quarterback. I definitely think that's the best way to build today is to get these really awesome running backs and wide receivers. And then if you play Hall as well, you can play Bruce and I's plays of the day together to get a little skinny stack right there. If you want to add more pieces on either the Houston or Memphis side of things, stack that game up, get some of the high volume guys, and you got yourself a nice little squad.
There you go. I'm going to throw in Corey Coleman. I was doing a lot of NFL draft research this week. I didn't realize how high he went in the first round years ago, and it wasn't that long ago, actually. So this is a first round draft pick in the NFL. He looked great last week, and I liked kind of these guys' thoughts on him and running that back with Philly. So Corey Coleman's going to be my play of the USFL slate. Okay, we're switching on over and going to the XFL playoffs, which start tonight at 7:00. So it is the South tonight and then the North tomorrow. And then, of course, the winners will meet next week for the XFL championship. So tonight we have the Arlington Renegades at the Houston Roughnecks. Houston's been the dominant team. Arlington kind of felt like they got in by default. I don't know that I personally have a ton of interest in Arlington, but I'm anxious to hear what these guys think. So, Bobby, I'll go to you first because I know you wrote up the XFL playbook. Again, check out these guys' playbooks, check out our cores, get in Discord, and we can all build some winning lineups here together, or build some good lineups for XFL playoffs too. So, who are you targeting from this first game in the South?
Yeah, I mean, the first game's not going to look as good as the Sunday Hammer. In this one. This is a rematch from Week 10, but Houston didn't really play a lot of their guys that first game. Houston struggled down the stretch a little bit on the offensive side of things. They looked great at the beginning of the season. Silvers looked really good. I mean, when McDonald's been in there, you can't really throw. He's just more so a rushing threat. So,
right.
Yeah, it's a little bit tough. I mean, Arlington's had a decent defense this year too. So, on the Arlington side of things, I could make it pretty short and sweet. I don't have much interest. I think you're obviously going to get Luis Perez as the lowest owned of the 4 starters this week.
Sure.
But he's so close in salary to the other guys. I just don't have a ton of interest. I think Sal Canella should have okay volume. And it looks like Devion Smith's going to be returning for Arlington this week. So likely is going to be probably a 60-40 split for Smith and Letty Brown, but Letty's been just involved and he's looked good. So I think Letty's one of the better value options at running back. So mainly want to target Letty Brown on the Arlington side of things. Don't mind Sal Canella. And you've got Tyler Vaughns and Brandon Arcanato for cheaper receivers if they end up fitting your build. They're not my favorite cheaper wide receivers, but I think that they're okay. And like I mentioned, Silvers just hasn't been great down the stretch and hasn't been as good as he was at the beginning of the year. So I think you can look at the Arlington defense as well in this one. Have more interest on the Houston side of the ball. I think just ownership wise, Silver should be the 3rd highest owned quarterback and you should get a pretty decent ownership discount from Silvers down from the DC and the Seattle quarterbacks, and he's sub 9K. I'm always going to be interested in stacking Silvers and Deontay Burnett, my two.
They've been good to you, overall.
Not as much lately, but definitely
earlier on in the middle of the season.
They definitely treated me well. So I'm definitely tempted to go back to the well on those guys and have some money to spend up on the Seattle DC side of things and potentially even play at least one of the running backs in that late game and hopefully leverage the pass game that should be higher owned. So like Silvers and Burnett, I think you can look at Harris and Bird and Smith as kind of mid-tier to I guess Smith being a little bit more of a value guy on the Houston side of things. I think Smith should probably be the most or the highest owned of the cheap wide receivers. And then running back wise, Borky just seems to always find the end zone. So I think he's got a ton of TD equity. Price has gone down quite a bit. And then we've got Alien as the backup should mix in, I want to say, at least 30-40% of snaps. I mean, he's been pretty involved. They haven't been giving Borgie like a huge workload. Maybe they give him a little bit more work since it's the playoffs, but I definitely think that he's very viable to, if you want to punt all the way down for your one running back, or if you want to play two running backs and play him as a punt over other wide receivers, definitely in play. And my favorite defense on the week this week is Houston. So love the Houston defense. I think that I'll play them on every single build that I have this week. Definitely love them here.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I like you said, both defenses in this game, and definitely love the Houston defense. Bruce, do you kind of agree with Bobby in that, just a little more interested in like one or two pieces in the defense? I know that might be the more common build, but is that kind of what you're leaning towards this week? It makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's going to be pretty popular to play a running back from this game, and maybe a wide receiver or defense, and then stack the rest of the guys from the other game. This game is indoors, I believe, in Houston. So
okay.
That's something to look at. I know DC, the weather is supposed to be a little rainy tomorrow.
Okay.
But the wind doesn't look crazy. Is that a morning game tomorrow, or is it
tomorrow? It's 3 p.m. Eastern
3 p.m.?
Tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah.
The rain's supposed to be pretty bad in DC, and
oh really?
The wind.
That is something to factor. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the wind is supposed to be like 15 miles an hour, which isn't crazy, but it's something.
It's something.
If you don't mind, if you don't mind getting a little different, you can definitely stack this game up in tournaments and hope it goes off. This will be the third time these teams play, so they are really familiar with each other. The total is lower, so it does point to this game being low scoring. I don't really want to play Perez, like Bobby said. The other quarterbacks are kind of priced similarly, so it's tough to justify that. And he does make a lot of mistakes, throws an interception or two per game. So I do like the Houston defense. They're in my core right now, so I think they're really good plays. Letty Brown, 4,700. I think he should get a share of those carries. So I think he's a great play. You mentioned Travell Harris. I think 6,800 is too cheap for him, especially with Silver's back in there. Should get most of the snaps there. So I think he's a great play. Tyler Vaughn's 4,700. He's just looked really good with Perez in there. I think if they're trailing, he could have a huge game, and he's cheap. So I like him. And you mentioned Canella. Canella is always a good play, and especially if they're trailing, Perez will look his way quite a bit.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you guys specifically. You guys both mentioned Letty Brown. Do you think, Bruce, that the split's kind of with Smith back going to be 60-40 Smith to Letty Brown? And if that is the split, you still think Brown's price and ownership is worth taking some shots on?
Yeah, so I looked at the snap count when Smith was healthy 2 weeks ago, I guess, and it was 58% Letty and 42% Smith. So yeah, I think it'll be closer to a split, maybe 50-50 or
okay.
So I think Brown is the better back, but Smith is solid too. So I think it's just going to be close to a split, and you just hope you get that touchdown. But I think Brown is a better receiver of the two as well. So I could see them throwing the football to him just a little bit more.
And if they're playing in a negative game script, then
exactly.
Okay. All right. I have a little interest there, so I just wanted to have a little follow-up question there. Okay. Well, then let's go over to the North championship game, which is again tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern in DC. Seattle at DC. Bobby, again, I'll go to you first since you did the playbook. Obviously, we've been all over DiNucci all season long. His receiver stacks kind of oscillate. Gordon kind of came back in the picture. Pearson's been a stud, but they've got 4 or 5 different targets. They've got 2 different running backs. DC likes to run, but they still got some nice receiving options. So, it's a game we want to stack. who are you targeting with all that said?
Yeah, there's a ton of stuff to like in this one. I mean,
it's
if
like,
the
which is the
weather,
right one to like? Which is the right pieces to like?
yeah, that's the tougher thing with Seattle. It's a little bit of roulette, and it's honestly even a little bit trickier now with Gordon being back in the mix and having a monster week last week. So, I mean, I like all of the main guys on Seattle. I mean, if Gordon's going to be back in the mix like this, I tend to want to mainly target Gordon and Pearson. And I guess Jackson too. I guess Jawan Green probably becomes kind of the more so odd man out for me if I'm looking at the main Seattle wide receivers just from a price perspective. Green's had some good involvement in the red zone too, and he's had some really good games. I mean, honestly, any of these four guys can pop off, and it wouldn't shock you. But I'm definitely really encouraged by Josh Gordon's involvement last week. So, at this point, Gordon's my favorite receiver on the Seattle side of things, just from getting a 1K salary savings from Pearson. But Pearson obviously looks good. But we've been paying like over 11K for him, and he's dropped down in price a little bit, so he's a titch more affordable. And we have some cheaper running back plays and a couple decent value receivers, so you can definitely find a way to get to him. And Damian Willis is doubtful this week, so I'm not expecting him to play. So it's at least one less guy in the mix. So you could definitely look at Jordan VC as one of the cheaper guys. But with Seattle, you're playing roulette to a degree, but you could honestly see two or three of the different receivers getting there. And DC's allowed some big plays throughout the year too. So they definitely look really good. Philip Lindsay had more carries last week than TJ Hammond. So at his price tag, I don't think he's going to be high owned. And if you're looking for a way to potentially leverage all the Seattle ownership, I mean, if you get a script where Lindsay scores a couple of the touchdowns, Danucci's really expensive, and none of the receivers really go off, and they all kind of just eat into each other. I can see, kind of a more of a contrarian play in GPPs as far as trying to hope that you get one receiver right plus Lindsay and get a lot of the TDs for Seattle. I think that's a viable path. So, Hammonds is an okay punt. Again, he hasn't ended up being the Deebo Samuel of the XFL, but he's an okay value play. So obviously love the Seattle pass game. I don't mind taking a shot on Lindsay, or if you really want to go down to Hammonds, I think he's okay. I actually have more interest in the DC side of things. I mean, I think that the stacking options are a lot clearer with Te'amu, who's played a lot better the second half of the year. It's really been honed in on Lucky Jackson and Chris Blair. I think those guys are fairly even, slightly and straight up Lucky Jackson, but I like the salary savings with Chris Blair being a little bit cheaper than Lucky Jackson. So really like DC stacks. I think you can double stack Te'amu. I think you can do a skinny stack and also play Abram Smith, or you could just play Abram Smith and load up on the pass game on the other side, or play with like the Houston guys too. There's a couple different paths. So really like the two main pass catchers, Te'amu and Abram Smith, for the DC side of things. You always got to worry about a little bit with DC is King stealing some carries down by the goal line. And only other thing to note on the DC side of things, Puka Williams is going to be the backup now. I'm blanking on DC's backup, Raquel Armstead. I think it was been their majority of the season. So he's out for this one. If you want to take a shot in the big main GPP tournament on DraftKings and want to go basically down to min salary, Puka Williams, and DC likes to run the ball. I mean, I definitely don't hope that Abram Smith doesn't get hurt, because I'm definitely going to play him on at least one of my builds this weekend. But there are some paths to him succeeding as a total dart throw at only 3.3K.
Yeah, no, I like that. Again, I think we want a lot of pieces in this game. It's just finding the right pieces in this game. So, Bruce, I'll go over to you. I mean, do you like the DC running side, the passing game, the Seattle passing game, the running game? It's kind of hard to pick. You can make cases for all. I think we think this is going to be the higher scoring game. So with all that said, who do you think are the right pieces in this game?
Yeah, I'm along the same lines of thinking that Bobby is. I like the DC passing game, pass catchers, Lucky Jackson and Chris Blair. I just think they're great plays, especially with a really fun offensive game like this one should be. I do like Jackson and Blair, and they could come in under-owned, especially with these Seattle wide receivers getting a lot of the ownership here. Like Lucky Jackson, projected ownership is like 15% or something, which seems low to me.
On a 2-game slate, absolutely. Yeah.
So, and then like if you look at Ja'Cour Pearson, he's around 30%. So, and Josh Gordon as well. So yeah, that's a definite way to get different on this slate. And as we've seen, they've had some big games. I think that one against St. Louis, both those guys had huge games. So I love that. With Willis out for Seattle, Josh Gordon got, I think, 11 targets last week. So I love him this week. And I thought I saw Blake Jackson questionable as well.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah. Okay. So that's something to look at if he's out for some reason. When I look at the Seattle depth chart, they do have Brendan Knox in there as the backup running back now. So I think he's back. I know he got injured like game 2 or game 3.
Yeah, that was early.
Yeah. So he's back. So could see him potentially, but
that clouds things up.
Yeah, he's bad too. So, but it's weird when you look at the snap counts last week, like Seattle. In a game that mattered, Hammond's got 14 snaps and Lindsey got 11. So did they go empty a lot? I watched part of the game, but not all of it. And they must have just went 5 wide or something. And yeah, I know they ran the tight end in there at running back some too, which is annoying. So I think I might just avoid the running back spot for Seattle altogether.
Well, I was going to ask, they haven't really been passing to the running backs either, right?
Yeah, and you think they would. June Jones is always
right
to the running back. So yeah,
and Lindsey's a good pass catcher too. I felt he had like 3 or 4 catches in his first week too. So I thought he might be good for 3 to 5 balls per week, and he might be really good in fantasy. But that's obviously not been the case.
Yeah, that's frustrating for sure. Yeah. But yeah, I love the DC pass catchers here. Gordon, I think will have a big game. Pearson got banged up last week and came back in, so I guess he was fine, but it looked bad at first. He was limping to the locker room. So
okay. That's right. I remember that in Discord. We were okay.
Yeah, he's not on the injury report or anything, so I think he's good to go. But yeah, Pearson is a good play as well. He looks good, just pricey. So I think you'll see the ownership for Gordon up there as well.
Yeah.
If for some reason these 2 Seattle wide receivers are out, you could see that the ownership go up a little bit more as well. But I think this is the best game of the week. Abram Smith is gonna probably score a touchdown or 2. I love Te'amu. I think DC wins this game. But it'll be close, maybe a 30-27 score or something like that. It'll hopefully be fun.
Okay, I have to ask this question to both of you, just because I'm struggling with the depth of the Seattle receivers, and it does, like you said, they kind of go in and out each week. Like Bobby mentioned, one was out this week, and you mentioned one was banged up, or Pearson was banged up, but he's back. So it sounds like you guys both like Gordon the best, but rank. I'll go to you first, Bruce, and then Bobby. Rank the available Seattle receivers, price considered, just because I'm trying to make my decisions here.
Yeah, I'd probably lean Gordon 1, then Pearson 2.
Okay.
If Blake Jackson or if Willis is out as expected, I kind of like VZ a little bit more.
Okay.
And then Jalen Green 4. That sounds good. Or Jawan Green, not Jalen Green, the Rocket.
Bobby, same question. I just need help trying to prioritize Seattle. It's been my struggle all year in the XFL.
Yeah, I mean, it's been
all of ours.
A dart throw a lot of weeks. I think a lot of us thought, Pearson is definitely the alpha.
Yep.
that changes. So I think for me, it's going to be, point per dollar rankings. I
Yes,
go
point per dollar.
Gordon, Jackson if he's in, Pearson, Juwan Green, and then VC5 would be my ranking.
Okay.
I feel like we've seen DC throughout the year kind of get burned on some of the bigger long plays too. So Josh Gordon definitely fits that bill of someone that, I think that Josh Gordon could just break the entire slate. I mean, there's plenty of risk. He could give up on a route, get yelled at, and get benched in the second quarter. He could also have like 10 catches for 180 yards and 3 touchdowns. Both wouldn't be shocked by either outcome, but him being sub 10K against a defense that gives up some bigger plays too, I think that he's definitely my number one on the Seattle side.
Okay. All right. Well, that covers the XFL playoffs. Again, if you're watching this later, still hit that like button. We appreciate it. Before we get out of here, we're going to get these guys XFL plays of the slate for the first week of playoffs. Bruce, I'll go to you first. Who's your XFL play of the slate?
I feel like Bobby's going to go Chris Blair or Lucky Jackson, one of those two. So I'll take whatever one he doesn't pick. But I really like Lucky Jackson at that ownership too, just because all these other Seattle guys are priced up. I think the ownership comes in a little bit lower. I think he smashes.
All right, Bobby, is Bruce right? Is Chris Blair your play of the slate, or who is your XFL play of the slate?
I mean, honestly, I'll give 2. I was just debating between Blair and Josh Gordon, but I feel like after my little rant there on Josh Gordon potentially breaking the slate in the spot, I gotta go with Josh Gordon as my play of the slate, with Chris Blair being the number 2. I mean, I think that you could play. I mean, honestly, think you could play both of the DC pass catchers potentially. With Teamu too, it gets a little bit tough to fit Seattle guys in there salary wise, but love both the Seattle, both the DC pass catchers. But I got to go with a little bit of the salary discount on Blair, especially with a couple big upside games that he had a few weeks back.
Okay, I like it. Mine's going to be a little risky, but Letty Brown, because it lets you stack up that DC Seattle game, however which way you think is best, and probably Houston defense from the first game. So I'm going to give you a couple pieces from tonight's game that'll let you really stack up tomorrow's game, the Sunday Hammer. So with that, again, check out the playbooks, check out the core plays, check out the Discord. We really appreciate you joining us. Good luck, everybody, and we will see you next time.